This is Marcus Hollinger, and this is the 116 Live Show on Holy Culture Radio, SiriusXM Channel 154. Welcome, and good evening. My name is Marcus, and I'm here with my homeboy,
Ace Harris.
This is the 116 Live on Holy Culture Radio, SiriusXM Channel 154. Today is a very special
man.
Today is a good day,
Bruh. People use that word GOAT so frequently and just carelessly. I feel like today the word is just definitely applicable to this moment.
It's apropos. It's appropriate.
Okay, all right, cool. French. You smart, bro.
I be getting it.
I was definitely copying off your paper in class.
Well, if you copied off my paper, well, we are definitely in the presence of someone whose paper is worth copying off of.
Hilarious.
In every statistical category. Today,
Hilarious.
this evening, we have with us Triple
Trip
the one
Lee.
and only.
What's
Light
going
skinned
on?
legend.
Oh boy, it's gonna be one of them type of shows.
I need to fall back and not try to roast Trip
Yes,
because
sir.
I've heard and I've seen this man is the best roasting. He can roast anybody and goes crazy. So I'm gonna just walk there.
So if you're listening, stay tuned because we are going to have an epic roast fest.
Oh no.
with Triple Lee.
I'm gonna tap out.
Trip, I hope you brought some great material. But as we've pumped it up, man, how are you?
I'm
Trip?
good,
How you
man.
doing?
Thank you for having me on this, man.
Looking good, man. I'm loving the braids, man. Oh, for those probably listening can't see, maybe they'll get a clip of the video when it drops. Man, it's fly look, bro. You in there?
Man, I need to get them rebraided up, but it's all right.
No,
Y'all
you in
asked
there.
me yesterday. I ain't have time. I didn't have time to go to the shop right before the podcast started.
You mean
like
how
you did.
Oh, you mean how I went to Lecrae's barber and
Yo,
they charged
perfect.
me 2x more than I would pay? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a pretty well known thing. Even though some things are always understood, but maybe not called out specifically. And I think one of those things, as it pertains to you, Trip, is you are a consistently well-dressed man.
Yo, facts.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
I think
I appreciate that.
so. To the rest of the reach, I forget the roster. Christian hip hop. Let's make it simple and plain. Triple Lee may be the flyest, most fashionable dude in Christian hip hop.
How's that make you
Wow.
feel, Trip?
Honored.
So not only
Yeah,
are we
you know.
here with probably
Yeah.
the highest IQ,
Oh yeah.
Yo.
Oh, we-
Trip.
we are also here.
We're at the gas
with
station, Trip. Just
the
enjoy the
flyest-
ride, bro.
We also we just
on
feel-
80s.
we just
we ain't
feel
on
it
80s.
up.
We on
Yeah.
premium right now.
Right. We haven't hit a quarter tank yet. We just gonna keep on gassing this thing up. But Trip, it is an honor to sit with you, especially in context of a lot of conversations that we've been having. So if you all, my listeners, haven't been tapped in, we've been on this trajectory. We started with covering 20 years of Reach Records history.
Mm-hmm.
We went into some conversations around what it's going to take to keep Christian hip hop on track. And then last week, we had the opportunity to sit with Tadashi,
Yeah.
who, like yourself, has had a career that has spanned 20 years.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask Trip,
You want to talk about IQ? That man, Tadashi.
he
I'm
told
like,
us, yeah.
On your vocabulary alone, Tadashi.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's got like T.I. kind of like stumbling. You know
He's
what I'm saying?
smart, bro.
Yeah, he told us. And so as you I want to maybe get into this conversation, Trip. How does it feel? It feels like in this moment we're standing on the top of a mountain, and if we turn and face the cliff, we would look out and see a pretty remarkable career. So if you envision yourself standing on top of that mountain with us for this conversation, how does that make you feel looking back over about 20 years
Yeah. It has been
A long time.
of
Yeah.
a successful music career? As we look out, how does that make you feel?
Not quite 20, because my first album came out 06.
Mm-hmm. Well, we rounding up because me and Ace ain't as smart
Okay.
as you.
Well, look.
Getting great on the
man.
curve.
It's incredible, bro. I feel very grateful because I tell people sometimes, like, I don't know what I thought
Mm-hmm.
it was going to be like. I'm not sure even how much I was trying to think very far into the future practically. I just knew I love hip hop. I love Jesus. And I'm just trying to make dope music about Jesus. I don't know that I thought I was going to provide for my family, travel around the world, just get to do it all this time. I feel grateful, bro.
Yeah.
Because it was like, I wasn't like following some particular steps. I didn't map it out like this. And I feel really, really grateful. Like there was a big chunk before I just put out this most recent album. But when I sat and I thought like, you know, I could be discouraged and think about all the records I could have put out under different circumstances. But then I'm like, this is my 7th album.
Dang.
Sheesh.
You know what I'm saying? Like, before I turned 35, I got to put out 7 albums.
How many hip hop artists can legitimately say that?
And it's, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, that's a lot.
I just feel grateful, man. You know, and I've got to do it, you know, on my own terms. You know, in a sense. By that I mean like I get to rap about what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I get to love Jesus openly and explicitly in my music. I get to you know, it's just like I feel grateful, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it seems pretty consistent the more we have these conversations, whether it's with Ben or whether it's with Lecrae or Tadashi, that at the onset there wasn't sort of there wasn't a treasure map of
Right, bro.
if I'm gonna go here and I'll land at 20 years or I'll land at, you know, the type of success that you all have been able to, you know, enjoy. I wanna ask you, Trip, what was one of the earlier defining moments for you that let you know you might be onto something with this?
Man, we was so focused on the main thing that it's like there were many levels that was like, I never thought this would happen.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have none of it in mind. That's what's crazy to me sometimes about like, hey, how do we get to where y'all is at? It's like, well, I can't tell you what we did because we didn't do nothing. Except just try to be good and walk through doors that the Lord opened for us. You know what I'm saying? But
so what was one of those? Is there a specific?
Yeah, like I remember the first time I got paid to do a show. You know, I'm a teenager and they gave me $100 to rap, and I was like, I made
$100 honorarium.
You know what I'm saying? That felt when I went on tour with Cross Movement in 2007. Those are my heroes. These are the dudes who I learned from, who I want to be like, who made me know you can be cool and love Jesus and you can love hip hop, and I got to go on tour with them. To me, it was like I felt like I was on a Hard Knock Life tour. Like I'm like I'm with the GOATs. Like let's go. That felt like a huge moment. You know, like on my first album. Was that the first album? Yeah, I had a song I said, I don't care if I don't never get a Billboard hit. And I never thought I would ever have any album that showed up on anybody's chart anywhere. And then I think it was 2020 was the first time it just landed somewhere in the top 200. It was like 193 on the top 200 or something. And I was like, oh, shoot. Or when one of them was number 2 rap album on the Billboard charts when it dropped. I think it was
Waiting Room.
Nah.
Or Rise.
Maybe in Rise or maybe in Good Life. One of those.
Okay.
But anyway, like it's stuff like that I just never thought would happen, you know. But the stuff I think that sticks with me in the most significant ways would be seeing how people interact with the art and seeing the ways it's impacted them deeply. Like when we did our Unashamed Africa tour many years ago, we was in Kenya, Nairobi. And bro, that was one of my favorite concerts we ever did because we, you know, it was, I don't know how many people was there. In my brain, it was, you know, feel like tens of thousands of people was there. Probably not. Maybe it was 10,000. It was a lot of people. And I did, one of my biggest songs at the time was Hero, Invasion. And bro, just the way that they was singing every word passionately to Jesus, because you're my hero, you already saved the day. Stuff like that has a deeper impact on me because it's like, I wrote that song at the crib in my room. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I just had some idea in my head, and then it kind of came to be, and Alex Medina made that track with Juice, I think.
Shout out Alex Medina.
Shout out Medina. Well, didn't that video? There was a video.
It was a video.
Didn't it, like, I think it premiered on BET or? I remember seeing
Invasion was on 106 Park.
Yeah.
That was another big moment.
Yeah.
Now I know that don't mean nothing to
Bro, 106 & Park at that moment was
depending
like,
on people's age, they're like, what is that? But it was like when you're a kid, it's like if you feel like if your music video was on BET or MTV, you made it. And it was on 106 & Park. I had 2 joints that got to be new joints of the day.
It's kind of like the equivalent of going viral on Twitter these days.
Bro, I had a song called
or TikTok. My bad, TikTok.
Yeah.
My song Real Vision with Tadashi, the hook is, I don't know what you heard, hope it matches with the word. That one was the new joint of the day on 106 & Park.
Crazy.
You know what I'm saying? It's like...
Shout out Tasha. That was the publicist back then.
Yeah.
She was working.
Yeah, it's just like...
Oh, she was working.
Oh, yeah. Dope. Yeah. It's just like... And those are just opportunities that I'm just grateful for, man. And that we didn't start out to do it that way. But I meet people all the time. I was just on a tour, and the photographer that was out there, young dude, he said, man, I read Rise, in 6th grade. And he's like, this changed my life. It's why I'm following Jesus right now. It's why I'm even out here.
Wow.
I hear stuff like that all the time. It's like, I have no idea all the people that the Lord has just sent stuff to.
Is it humbling, mind blowing?
Extremely, man. Because it's like,
Yeah.
I couldn't orchestrate it to work out that way. For stuff to hit, the Lord knows where people are at, what they need in that season. All I can do is just try to be faithful and then like watch how the Lord sets it on people where they need it to be. Yeah. And I'm grateful that I still get to do it.
I have a thought, speaking of, you said somebody who was 6 years old, who's obviously extremely young, but you were extreme. I think like Jacob has that song Middle Child, and I think about you a lot. Yeah. Cause I mean, you were extremely young coming into like the 116 clique.
Little bro and big bro.
You like little bro and big bro. And Trip, you're relatively young. You're not like, I am by all means way older than you. Yeah. But you've been around in the game for so long. Talk to a little bit about whether at that time you saw yourself as that young, or you just kind of like always immersed yourself. When you're on that cross movement tour, did you just see yourself as like more like these are my peers too? You know what I'm saying?
No.
Okay.
I did not see them as my peers. Because now mind you, when I met Lecrae, Tadashi, Show, BJ, dudes they was all in college at UNT. And I was in high school. So like I met them at 15, 16 years old.
Sheesh.
And I'm also like growing in my faith. So before I ever do music, Crane's like, hey, is anybody discipling you? And they're pouring into me, teaching me Bible study. These are dudes I look up to or who are helping me know God and grow as a young man. So I certainly postured myself as a learner. Yeah. And I'm just happy to be here. You know what I'm saying? And I actually think I need to give that as advice to people more often as they getting started. Like, posture yourself as a learner.
Facts.
Because not only is it good for your own soul, because when you posture yourself as a learner, you're not trying to impress people that you're around. So that's the mistake I think we make sometimes. When we're around people we respect and admire, we try to think, what's something I can say to impress them? Oh, yeah. How can I make sure they leave with a... And instead, it's like, what if we posture ourselves as a learner and think about what questions can I ask? How can I learn? Like, how can I, the stuff that I love and I admire, let me ask questions and watch and observe so that I can do the things that I've seen them be able to do. And I very much felt like just little brother along for the ride, and I'm happy to be around and learn. And it was in a season of my life where I was just a sponge, bro.
How did that come on you? Because sometimes the way that we show up, it's maybe not necessarily a conscious thing. Sometimes it just kind of has a lot to do with how we're shaped. It's like you show up to school and you got your lunch packed and you don't know what everybody else is going to be eating that day. That's just how you packed your lunch. What do you think, how do you think what was it that made you show up and that was the route that you chose?
Being a learner?
Yeah.
Man, I don't know, bro. I just wanted to be faithful. I didn't care about nothing but Jesus and hip hop at the time. To my detriment.
Say more about that. How could that be? How could that be to your
Because it took me a while after I became a Christian around 14 to realize I should do good at school. Like God cares about that too.
Oh wow.
Like it didn't click. Like it wasn't like I thought God don't care about school, but it was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Even if I don't this is part of my faithfulness to God. Me working heartily as unto Him. Even if I don't care about my teacher, what they care, like I'm doing this work for Him. You know what I'm saying? And even like the ways I wasn't even super practical. Like there are other ways but all I cared about was Jesus and hip hop, bro. So it was like I just wanted to learn.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to be faithful to Jesus, and I wanted to be good at rap. You know what I'm saying? Even like I went to Bible college. When I found out there was a thing called Bible college, I was like, oh, that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
I ain't trying to, like, I don't know what I would have did, honestly. Because I am a learner. I read a lot.
Yeah.
But I didn't like school.
Got you.
I did not like school. Like, so in my mind, I'm like, we need to do education better, because I'm one of the nerdiest, I'm too curious. And I like, me and my wife, she makes fun of me because I'm like, man, but why is it like that? She's like, you don't need to know why.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to know what. And I'm like, man, someone say a weird phrase, and I'm like, dang, where did that phrase come from? Like, cause I mean, it's like, babe, stop. You don't need to know. But I'm like, I couldn't connect it to anything I cared about, school.
Right.
Yeah.
But then when I was around people who knew Jesus, who knew the Bible, who loved their wives, who seemed like godly men, I'm like, how can I get like that?
Got you.
That
And I just want to be around them.
Got
and
you.
then it also happens to be the dudes who are great rappers. I'm like, I just want to be here and soak up.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I'm trying to leave with my backpack loaded up to know how to be faithful to Jesus and great at this art form.
I love that. It sounds like, Trip, what you're saying is, at your core, you're a learner in a broad type of way. You're curious, you're fascinated, and you just ultimately you just want to kind of know. And that was something that, now kind of connecting the dots, what it sounds like is that's something that you brought into your career.
Yes.
I would imagine that's something that you've brought into how you practice music, even as you've developed.
I would
as
love
an
to
artist.
get into that more on the next when we come back.
We're gonna touch more on that.
This learner, like, really how that helps you as a musician, as an artist, as a rapper. So
We're gonna take a quick break, and we got some great music for you coming up after the break. Keep it locked. It's Holy Culture Radio. This is the 116 Life. Welcome back. This is the 116 Life, and if you're just tuning in, or if this is your first time tuning in, my name is Marcus. I'm here with my homeboy
Ace Harris,
and this is again the 116 Life on Holy Culture Radio, SiriusXM channel 154. Today we're joined by Tripley, and we've been talking about genius. We've been talking about brilliance.
He's like a child prodigy, man.
We've been talking about learning.
we still at the gas station.
I told you, we back at the gas station.
we
So
back
if you're
there.
just tuning in, we make frequent stops at the gas station where we give the cashier our money, and then we just pump love and affirmation all up
the
in
way.
the situation.
But it's very deserving.
Tripley.
I wouldn't say it's not by any means any cap.
No.
You are
Not at
fun
all.
to work with, creative, smart, godly. And you would hope all the qualities exist in someone who works in Christian hip hop. But
I appreciate that.
Sometimes that's not always the case.
And from one learner to another, someone who we all have so much to learn from.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And I want to. Earlier we were talking about your being a learner, and how that very early on had a lot to do with why and how you kind of postured yourself certain ways, and ultimately how that might have kind of contributed to some early success. I'm curious, Trip, how else, maybe in some more technical ways, have you seen that knack for learning show up in your craft?
Yeah. I mean, from the earliest, so back before you just, was Googling stuff on your phone, like when I wanted to rap, I was printing out lyrics, go to my computer, find the lyrics, I would print them out. Yeah, and I would be looking at them, and I'd be trying to figure out, how did JayZ do that? What I just heard is incredible.
Yeah.
I want to be that good with words. Like, I don't know. When I see something great, I'm blown away by it, and then I'm like, man, is there any way I could do that?
That's
I don't know.
amazing.
This is something about how God made me that I don't know. And then if I sense that I have a gift for it, then it really makes me want to go after it. So I feel like one thing that meant for me is every project I made, I'm very, I don't know, it feels boring to me to be just as good as I was last time, or to make another one of those. So with each one, I'm like, oh, how can I pick up more? So like in between my first album and my second one, I was like, I'm trying to write a verse every day.
Yeah.
You was writing a verse every day.
Yeah.
That is just speaking to like people who are trying to like be musicians and artists and creators. I think we just missed that step a lot because even think about Kanye 5 beats a day for like whatever, 3 summers. I mean, bro, the just the quality and the output of just being consistent with the craft.
That's right. Yeah. And then it's like it's less of a climb to get into your rhythm because you do this all the time.
Yeah.
I'm just in it. And so with each project I was trying to do that. And so, you know, and I can hear the zones I was in particular seasons based on the stuff I was, you know, like Between Two Worlds, it was like I was obsessed with live instrumentation, bro. Yeah. So it was live strings, horn and stuff all over that. You know, like I can hear the stuff I was obsessed with in those seasons, but I'm a student of, and it don't even take stuff that's the same thing I do, like different kinds of music, film, you know, just anytime I see somebody being great, it inspires me. You know, if I read a dope book, it's like, that's incredible. That storytelling, it caught me off guard. And my storytelling, I need to figure out how to like lead someone along this path and then take a turn. And it's like, I feel like if artists can be easily inspired, that's the best thing you can do for yourself as an artist. If you can learn something from anybody, any kind of artist at any place, that's good. And that's also should just be a core value of us as believers. Like if somebody don't have to be more mature than me, older than me, for me to learn something from them. You could learn from anybody. And we have strengths, weaknesses. People who don't know God are made in the image of God. We can learn a lot.
You already know.
I want to unpack that.
So we wanted to unpack
I know
that.
I like jumped off.
No. This is great. Your Ace and I just are turning up because we a couple weeks back had a episode about Christian artists collaborating with secular artists, and I would even say that somewhere underneath collaborating, you could almost imply learning from, studying things like that. With Trip, you hold so much, and I think rightfully so, you hold so much credibility as a Christian leader, as someone who no one would question your soundness theologically and even your practice as you know. So I would hear, Trip, what would you say to someone who may struggle with the idea that Trip Lee, one of their favorite rappers, who is also a Christian and has pastored, is learning from JayZ? How would you respond or almost, you know, kind of give some light to that?
Yeah, well, I would just want us to remember that we are made in the image of God. Every single human is made in the image of God. They've been made to reflect God. And because we're sinners, like, that's corrupted, but that doesn't mean that there are not beautiful reflections of who God is in a person. So like, for instance, somebody who's an incredible artist who mirrors God in the way that they create songs from nothing out of their brain. They may, because there's corruption in our hearts, we may use that incredible gift and skill and creativity to say things that are offensive to God. But there's still this beautiful reflection of who our Creator is in the way that we create. And so I can learn from that creativity in part because God gave them that creativity. They're reflecting God himself. So it's almost like there is no art in all of creation that's ever been made where God is not the biggest influence on that art. You even think about, you know, I don't know, artists mixing colors and stuff. It's like, there are colors that we see in creation. I mean, you think about like you know, machine, like even like, you know, like you see them robot videos, Boston Dynamics, they created that amazing thing. Yeah, they're making it to like walk like a human because there's something incredible in this design where our joints are. You know, people make incredible songs about love. Who created love and human connection? You know what I'm saying?
That's so good, dog.
And it's like that God created that. You know what I'm saying? And so even if there are ways that people are not honoring God with those gifts, they're still reflecting the Creator when they create. And so we're robbing God of his glory by refusing to see his glory and human beings doing incredible stuff.
Yeah, Lecrae said something to love that. Lecrae said something to us earlier this week about, God asked us not to make images of himself, or God didn't need us to build statues of him or anything like that, because
that's right.
He did it.
Yeah, that's right.
When he made us.
That's right.
And that was such a game changer.
Yeah.
Trip, I want to ask a follow-up on that.
Yeah.
Why is it, or could you maybe, why do you think that's something that is a topic, or that may, because you just laid that out so beautifully, so elegantly, so easily. Why is it that you think that dynamic is something that people struggle with? Or do you think it's a relevant struggle?
Yeah, I think I just think we sometimes think that the only praiseworthy ways we can reflect God's glory are ones that are, explicitly saying how great God is. And I think part of it is, us, not giving God his due and seeing his work in all things. And I think it can feel like there's such a strong boundary between these are the things that can glorify God and these are the things that cannot. And there's sometimes, because human beings are complex, art is complex, and there can be complex things, and chewing up meat and spitting out bones and seeing things that you can learn from. And I think we just have too low of a view of the image of God often. And we think like human beings become valuable when they trust in Jesus, and then they have something to offer once they trust in Jesus. And it's like, no, this is someone who was created in the image of God.
Off top,
And it's the crown of all creation.
Yeah.
There's nothing that will ever be made that is going to be more impressive than that human being sitting in front of you right now.
Amen. That's incredible.
Beautifully and wonderfully made by God.
That's incredible.
And that doesn't begin when we put our faith in Jesus.
Yeah.
That's whether or not we trust in Jesus. This is someone who's been beautifully and wonderfully made by God. You know what I'm saying?
I love that perspective, man, because Andy had said this before about how I'd kind of taken that perspective and thinking about in the context of hip hop and creating music, where he said the best hip hop is created by people or from spaces where hip hop isn't the only source of input and inspiration.
Yes.
So I think as you're talking about pulling from different sources, you being a learner, tell me about a moment where you were immersed in other things, musically, culturally, whatever, that helped you make the kind of art you make. And yeah,
it's a great question. For example, we just talk about the last project. One of the things that there are many reasons. Well, I just won't even say that. I'll leave that part out. But I go on music kicks sometimes where it's like there's something you didn't used to be able to do before streaming, unless you want to spend hundreds of dollars. I can just decide there's a genre of music that I don't know that much about. So I went on a psychedelic rock binge, right?
Pre-Lil Yachty. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And so,
Timing.
That's right.
Okay, I know.
Soldier Boy. He stole my whole flow. Bar for bar.
Let's not talk about stealing right now.
Nah.
Yeah.
Sensitive.
But so, I was listening heavy to, and I was like, man, this is crazy. And at the same time, I was really falling in love with analog synths. And I loved even how some of these, I didn't realize there was such a history of some of these rock acts using synths in unique ways. And like Pink Floyd, for instance, was a band. I was like, man, I just love how they're bringing all these textures together, right? And one of the producers I was working with, Michelle, he also was on a similar kick around the same time. And so there are ways that influence the way I was making some stuff production-wise, but also there are two in particular, Stone. And Homecoming, that Michelle produced both of those, and it just captures that vibe so well. Bro.
The synth, the sounds in that record are crazy.
But that's what makes that record unique, and what makes it dope is it don't sound just like everything else. It fits with everything else, but it also pulls from another world. Yeah. And if we only learn from people within our little pool, then we all gonna sound just like this.
Yeah.
But if we can learn from all these other things and mix them, there's really no new ideas. There's no new things. There are new mixtures of things that already exist, though.
I love that.
And it's like, I feel like one of my goals as an artist is to find new stuff to mix in, find new ingredients to mix into what I'm doing. And that's part of the ways I can keep making new stuff. And I love there's nothing like discovering something amazing I didn't know about.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing, bro.
Yeah, it's
a genre, a song.
Yeah.
I started reading poetry a few years ago, and I'm like, I'm an idiot. Why wasn't I reading poetry this whole time?
I love
These
that.
are the people who are great with words, and I want to get great. And I'm like, but also it's a joy because it's like now I just have a deep rabbit hole I get to just explore. You know what I'm saying? I didn't read any kind of fiction books until like 5-6 years ago.
Oh, you were straight like information, just
Christian books and
yeah.
culture, history,
okay, really?
memoirs, even biography, but no fiction.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wasn't into. I was like, I don't know.
I feel you. I mean, I'd probably say
And-
that.
But
and
then
what
I
is-
started reading fiction, and I was like, oh, now there's this whole world because I
Yeah.
didn't read fiction.
Yeah.
I started reading after I became a Christian and wanted to read Christian books. So that's when I started reading again, and that's just I was reading to just expand my mind, and there's so much I was missing out in terms of understand the ways that great fiction authors understand the human heart, what people are like,
Yeah.
the incredible storytelling. Anyway, my favorite thing is to discover stuff I don't know about yet, because the joy of just like the avalanche of just kind of rolling down that hill of learning more and more is just one of my favorite things. And
I love
it just
that.
makes me want to be great and find ways to incorporate stuff I'm learning.
And who would have thought that Pink Floyd, I think was one of the artists that you mentioned, would have been an inspiration for someone making an album about sort of humility and coming to the end and recognizing that sometimes the end is a new beginning, which is maybe not a uniquely Christian thing, but it's definitely specifically a Christian thing as we think about the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. I think it's such a beautiful picture. Trip, I wanna go a little bit more into that as we kind of think about endings.
Can I say one more thing? real
Sure.
quick? I feel like, maybe I'm gonna write a book about this because I feel like I want to encourage people to be curious. Christians specifically. Be curious.
How can people
ask questions?
If somebody hears you say that, how can they? I think you're maybe about to say, like, it's like, man, curiosity just doesn't come naturally to me. Trip. What are some ways that you could maybe on ramp somebody?
I would say part of it is the humility to know that there's so much in the world you don't know and that you don't know about. You know how if you have, I know both of y'all have, and if you've never traveled, if you're listening, you never traveled to another country. There's something about going somewhere else that reminds you the world is way bigger than you realize. Or it's just like, oh yeah, that's right. I saw a TikTok account that had all these weird fruits, and I was like, oh yeah, I don't know nothing. There's fruits I've never heard of. There's some weird fruit that is stringy and tastes like chocolate somewhere. In my brain, I'm like, fruits, yeah, bananas and grapes and oranges, those are what the fruits are.
Yeah.
But it's all kind of stuff I just have no idea about. So part of it is the humility to know there's so much you don't know, and it's much easier to interact with the world in a sober-minded way, in a realistic way, in a compassionate way, the more that you understand. Like, even be curious about the people you spend time with. Your coworker who always come in with an attitude, don't just assume they're mean. Be curious enough to get to know them. There's stuff going on in their life. Maybe their kid is bad. Right, and they're going through a tough parenting season, and every day it's a nightmare to try to get that. You know what I'm saying? That changes how you interact with people.
Yeah.
So I would say, don't see curiosity as just like, I'm not someone who just likes to know a lot of random facts. See it as a posture of your heart that understands we're not God, so we're not all knowing. So there's always more we can understand in any circumstance, in any relationship, in any job.
Oh yeah.
That will help us to be more faithful.
That's good.
And the curiosity that asks the why questions behind stuff just allows you to approach it better. You know what I'm saying? Like, why is it like that? Like, even like someone you disagree with politically, right? I feel like trying to understand how they got there helps you to be gracious. Because you can be like, I still think you're wrong, but I understand now it's not because you just hate those people.
Yeah.
Here are the assumptions that you have that I disagree with that got you there.
Yeah.
But me asking those why questions behind it helps me to better understand. And so sometimes it may be something I'm just curious about, and then when I end up in a particular situation, I understand those surroundings better, and I'm able to interact with the world, I think, in a more faithful way.
Yeah.
And then there's stuff that I feel like with your job, be curious, figure out how to be great at what you're doing. Be curious, learn. Like, there's so much stuff you can learn online so easily. I just think I want to encourage broad curiosity.
So you
not
heard,
just with facts, not just with Bible, not just with art, just like God made a bunch of stuff. And he made incredible humans who made a bunch of stuff. Just be curious. Like,
That's great.
there are things to be grateful for that enrich your life, that when we're too closed off, we're like, no, I only like these things. It's like, well, there's some things that we could be missing out on. And yeah.
Now I'm curious about this stringy chocolate fruit.
Bro, I'm gonna show you this account. It's wild,
It's
bro.
kind of got me thinking. I'm just like, what?
No, it's wild. But that's what I'm saying. It's like, I can't even imagine that
Yeah.
texture. It's just,
That's incredible.
but it's just like there's so much.
Yeah.
There are people whose lives are nothing like yours. There are people who just have completely different assumptions than you. It's just, the world is big. And I think it honors God to be curious about the world, the people he made in it, and to want to interact in the world in the most sober, compassionate, faithful way.
I think on the topic of curiosity, I feel like as we get into our next segment, some of our listeners will be extremely curious to hear about your transition into producing. Me being a producer,
Yeah.
I feel like, because I've sat in rooms with you and we've had long conversations.
Yeah.
But your exploratory mindset, your curiosity, your learning behavior has just created a new like spark plug in your creativity as an artist.
Yeah.
And I feel like it'd just be dope to kind of go down that rabbit hole a little bit. So
Yeah. We'll touch on that, but first we're gonna take a break. If you have just stumbled upon our station at this point in the hour, we want to thank you for listening so far.
Appreciate
We're
y'all.
sitting there with Trip Lee. We're gonna take a quick break and hear some great kingdom building music. This is Holy Culture Radio, and right now you're listening to the 116
radio show.
the
You set
116
me up
Live
clean.
radio show. We're gonna take a break.
All right.
Ace and I are gonna work on that drop, and we'll be right back. All right. Welcome back. My name is Marcus, and I'm joined by my homeboy
Ace Harris.
And if you're just tuning in, this is the 116 Life
radio show. See, we
working on that. We working on that. If you're just listening, we are working on that. But this is the 116 Live radio show on Holy Culture Radio, SiriusXM channel 154. And we are in studio today with one of Christian hip-hops and hip-hops at large, brightest minds, incredible thinkers,
For sure.
well-dressed gentlemen,
Extremely well dressed.
Well, thank you.
master of the pen.
Yeah, shout out the Noel track on the Christmas album that we had a conversation about a couple weeks ago.
Oh my goodness, yes. Okay, so we're gonna jump in. We were talking about your production trip, but first,
Yes.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with Ace, and so I have a child. I have children recently, and my oldest son JoJo is really getting into the music, and he knows what he wants to hear. He knows what he likes. He loves the Christmas album, and he loves Noel, the record.
Dope.
And so all throughout the whole 2 weeks of Christmas New Year, we listened to the song, and it something just hit me, and I came to Ace and I said, Ace, that song is incredible. That has to be one of the most incredible songs, and I'm not. And we'll talk about why.
Yeah.
That song is incredible.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that.
It is incredible. And what we talked was like, yo, listen to the way that Trip is taking. You talk about how you've studied storytelling, narrative arc, how to capture the human heart. I'm like, yo, this man really has me hanging on, and he's downloading some incredible theology about Jesus, and there's just this wonder about Jesus that just comes through in that song, and I was like, "Yo, this is amazing! This is amazing!"
Thank you, man.
I mean, on one minute I'm like, man, Marcus, Man, why you didn't say that 4 years ago, bro?
and I think Trip, and your music does this.
Yeah.
Your music does this in particular, where you hear it, and it's not you hear it and you say, "Oh, this is whack."
Yeah.
You hear it and you say, "Oh, this is Trip."
Yeah.
I'm dealing with Trip Lee music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know. But then the more you sit with it,
Yeah.
and the more you hear it, the more you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay. I'm hearing
Yeah,
things.
because he's employing, speaking of that song specifically, hip hop has probably got a little bit of a ding here and there, especially the last 5 years about the songwriting, the lack of songwriting in hip hop. But in that record, what you do on most of your songs is you've crafted songwriting in hip hop. There's a reason why I think JayZ, I want to say Kendrick got a Pulitzer Prize. I think them two only. But it's like you care about the songwriting as a rapper, as a hip hop artist. And I think that record is a great example of that. You know what I'm saying?
And I just
Thank y'all so much.
Just one part. We at the gas station right now. If you haven't been listening in, Ace and I have been frequently stopping at the gas station where we fill our brother Trip Lee up with all the affirmation, all the praise, all of that he deserves. And particularly about that song, and I just want to call out one thing, the "Gon' lift him up, he the centerpiece, baby clothes couldn't cloak his divinity." It's like the
crazy.
The way that flows with the music, the melody, and then the it's like a call to worship and the theology. He the centerpiece, baby clothes couldn't cloak his divinity.
Yeah.
Man.
Anything you want to say on that song before we get into production?
Well, I mean, to me, when I think about, the incredibleness of Jesus becoming and Christmas, it's just the part that blows me away is this is a baby and it is God.
Yeah.
And I'm like, as I'm writing that song, I'm like, how can I impress on the listener to just be blown away by that? That's a wild contrast.
Okay, so
that's crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm like, how can I? And that baby clothes couldn't cloak his divinity is just like, it's a baby, and yet it's the divine create. And it's like, how can I just come up with clever ways?
Maybe we could just
we can sit here.
What was going on? Like, okay, talk us through some of the devices, because if you hear me, I'm sorry for the listeners, you probably heard me screaming just a bit ago. You say, wait, baby clothes couldn't cloak his divinity. I don't get it. But there's something going on with the sound of those words. They don't exactly rhyme.
Yeah.
But the way so throughout that song, maybe this could just be a study trip. What was your approach to writing that song? Like, what were some of the devices? You had your intent, which was make the listener blown away.
Yeah.
What were some devices that you were employing to try to achieve that end?
I was trying to use a lot of physical imagery, so that I'm not just like, hey, listener, I want you to know Jesus is God. I want to say things that make you conjure up pictures in your mind.
Okay.
Right. So I wish I could remember exactly. It's been so long since but creation been groaning. Then the sun came up. Good morning. Right. I want to like draw to mind these images that there is more depth to it. I like when it's like, oh, the sun came up, good morning. And then I want you to like listen again and be like, oh no, something special happened. That was a turning point in creation where a kind of darkness ended and the sun came. Like, I want those things to sink in deeper. And sometimes I ask myself, am I wasting my time because people don't sit with music as deeply? But man, there's just something about how the Lord has built me that what I appreciate most, and when I see, I don't know, I can't help but try to do it that way.
Yeah.
I just can't help. I was like, I could just, maybe everybody not gonna listen that closely, but there's just a beauty to that depth that I want to try to put in there. I wish I could remember all those bars though, but I was trying to give lots of imagery, and I was trying to do it in ways that felt close to home.
Speaking of imagery and like songwriting, I think about a record that has all of that and has an element that it kind of shows your other gifting, which you've been developing over in the pandemic. This record is You Got It. We dropped it summer 21. I remember you telling me about you getting into production.
Yeah.
That song actually encapsulates great songwriting too, because it's a story. But the production, bro, like the chords. Talk a little bit about, you probably have said this publicly in some context, but give a little bit of backstory for how did Trip Lee end up producing that record, and how did you get your production chops up like overnight? It seemed like how'd that start, man?
Yeah, quick version is like, I guess when I was in high school, I like dabbled on FL a little bit, but my homie Malik was nice, and so as soon as I had dudes who I trusted like producing me, I was like, well, that's not my thing. I'm a rapper, right? So I just never thought I would even envy dudes who could produce their own stuff, but I was like, but I always have been such a lover of music that I've been involved in production all the time, and I started to want to write different kinds of songs. That aren't just rap songs. And so I was like, I guess I need to learn some chord progressions, or at least how to write chord progressions so that I'm not waiting on people to send me stuff. I was like, I want to write some worship stuff. And I'm like, so I started looking up chord progressions just a little bit, and then was kind of teaching myself how to play just a little bit of stuff. And it just kept but I thought I'll just do this and just pass stuff off to a producer. This is just for me to have something to write to. Yeah. And it just kind of kept spiraling, where each step I was like, okay, maybe I'll add a little bit more on this, but I'm still going to pass it off. And then, man, it felt like I was in high school again learning to rap, where it was
that's amazing.
Just the joy of learning a new skill, where
there he goes again.
Around every corner there's something that was like, oh, shoot, I don't know how to do that, but I see how that made that song great. Let me learn how to incorporate that. You know what I'm saying? And it felt like that again, where part of the joy of it for me is the learning and the challenge of trying to accomplish it. Yeah. Like of being like, man, what if I could do that? Like that pulls me in. And I'm grateful that pulls me in, because it makes this a very fun job. You know what I'm saying? And it's part of what makes me ambitious, where someone might be like, Trip, no one would care if you, like, people would love your music just as much if you didn't add this particular skill to it. But I'm like, well, that's actually not what it's about for me. It's the joy of learning a new thing and the challenge and the love. I respect production and music so much. I'm like, man, if I could be a part of creating that part too. That's one of the amazing things about creativity to me, and one of my favorite things about this is that God has given us the ability to have an idea and then to make it. Yeah. That's wild. Yeah. That I can think, man, I wish there was I have health issues, and I want people to know there's hope in the midst of difficulty, and there's victory there. But I guess I'll just tell them, but it would be like, oh, what if I could make a whole song about that? And then it changes people's lives. And then years later, people tell me they was going to commit suicide unless they heard that song. The joy of getting to make something and then send it out into the world. So anyway, with production stuff, that curiosity is pulling me in. And there was steps. You Got It was one of the first things I ever sent to you. And I said to Ace, I got songs, but look, I started making these so we can like find producers, we can just swap this stuff out. Or if any of it's good, because I was starting to feel like maybe I'm kind of good at this. Maybe there's something there. And he was like, bro, this is dope. This was dope.
I love that record. And I want to ask because...
And I was making it for fun, by the way. Like all the producing and stuff I was learning, I was also in a place where I wasn't creating for a project. I was just creating for fun. That's like if no one ever listened to another song I ever made, I would make music every day.
That's such a like Marcus Hollander word, pregnant statement. Because
say more.
I feel like sometimes creatives feel like they have to have an end to create.
I think that's poisonous to a creative process.
Ooh, that's crazy.
Say more about that.
Because that means you only create out of a place of pressure. And it always means you're always going to kind of cut off any kind of tinkering or something like some weird place your curiosity might take you. Because you're going to be like, but I could never do that because I wouldn't fit in this. The amazing thing about just creating for fun is it's just for fun. So you just can try weird stuff. And there's weird stuff I tried that I wouldn't have done if I was beginning to make the album, because I would have thought that'll never be able to fit.
Yeah.
But then I was like, that weird thing was actually amazing, and I can pull that into this. And it's just, I think that also the same thing, it helps build those reps and it helps expand your, there's stuff about me trying to like randomly write R&B love songs for fun because I like songs.
Yeah.
that made me a way better songwriter. You know what I'm saying?
So now we gotta go. Are these you got like a Finsta or like a fake
No,
SoundCloud?
but I got a playlist on my phone
R&B
of
joints?
songs I've written my wife. One of them I changed and turned into Know It, one of the last songs on the end. But yeah, I got all kind of joints. But it's because I love chord progressions. I love
got a
melodies.
marriage ministry mixtape coming
Bro,
soon.
man.
Y'all better
The weird
watch out.
thing is, like, I got so much music I've made that will never see the light of day. But all of that stuff, even if it never did, the skills it built up in me, the deeper because to do something, you also have to understand it more deeply.
Yeah.
It made me a better producer for the other stuff I want to
okay,
do.
yeah.
That like built into me stuff that then I can build on top of with the stuff that people will get to hear. Also, creating things is joyful. Like,
Yeah.
I think we think if it doesn't end in money or some finished product that people could see, then it doesn't have value.
Say that
Boy.
part.
The process of reflecting God and making something out of nothing has value in itself.
I say that, and it's so much that goes with that. It reminds me, one of our friends, a mutual friend of all of ours, was telling us this story about Leonardo da Vinci and the Mona Lisa, and how
Bruh.
people would say that what made the Mona Lisa special was that he would go out and
Bruh.
like study cadavers. He would cut the faces off of already deceased people to try to study how does a smile affect the rest of the face.
So it's not just what the smiles look like, it's what are the muscles doing? When you do this, how does it pull on this part?
Yes, sir.
It gave him the nuance to understand. He's a curiosity hero of mine, actually.
Yes.
Walter Isaacson wrote a fire biography. It's very long, but he was crazy curious.
Yeah.
And like he did drawings of teeth and how teeth and everything that works in them that they didn't know he had ever drew. It was just in a thing somewhere that 200 years later, dentists had not discovered. Like they didn't know, he knew more about that than doctors did.
And it didn't necessarily mean
dentistry
that
didn't exist yet.
And it didn't necessarily mean that he needed to go cash in on that knowledge, but he was using that
Yes.
he was expressing his curiosity and using it to make his art. And I wanted to bring it around full circle because You Got It was actually used in a Lids ad.
Yeah.
The TV spot. That song also was on TV. The year that the record came out, and there's somewhat of a beautiful full picture that's not what you had in mind.
Yeah.
It's when you created that, but yeah, there was a reward
Yeah.
intrinsically in the fact that you created yourself. You created this idea, execute this idea.
Yeah.
You were practicing your creativity. But then sort of like an overflow is somebody else said, you know what? I want to take that record and put it in a ad about snapbacks to, communicate something.
Yeah.
And you got paid for that. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah. I think we'll be better creators if we enjoy creating more and we see the beauty and the value of that process itself. It makes us better at creating, and
That's like a whole nugget. I mean, my takeaways is just like enjoy creativity for creativity's sake, and immerse yourself in curiosity.
And I feel like I'm in a incredible creative space right now because of the stuff that I was just doing for fun, where I follow my curiosity down this path to where I think I'm starting to carve out a unique sound for what my production feels like. But it's because I've just been chasing my curiosity down, which helps me to continue to get a feel for the stuff that I love and the sounds that feel unique to me and those textures. And I think the best music I'm gonna make is still on the way because I'm just better. I understand songs better. I understand production better. I can have a more of a hand in it in new ways. And it excites me more. I've written way more songs than I ever would have written if I had to wait on people to send me beats. I can have an idea and get going immediately. And it just means I have folders of just joints. And I'm like, I didn't plan it this way. All I did was think, oh, that's fun. Oh, that's fun. Oh, what if I did this? And it just let my curiosity pull me down this path. Yeah.
Love that.
Love that, bro. It's hard.
Yeah.
Love that.
Crazy.
Well, Trip, I feel very fortunate because there's so much that we could have talked about in sitting with Trip. and yet I feel the conversation kind of went in a way that none of us probably could have expected. And I think that has a lot to say with just the depth of who you are and the depth of what you possess as an artist, as a thinker, as a you know, a man of God, all these things. And so just thank you. We definitely probably gonna have to have a part 2.
Yeah, definitely.
As we wrap this episode, I do want to hear, Trip, is there anything that you are excited maybe to share, to let people know what might be coming down the pipeline for you, or updates to your career, things like that?
One thing people should know is Lecrae's over there dancing weird right now.
Lecrae's in the studio.
He got that marriage mixtape in the
Lecrae's in the
headphones.
studio. He's listening to the Trip Lee marriage mixtape.
Nah, I'm really excited about this year, man. I got new music on the way. I got a lot of new music I've been working on. I'm really excited. We're just talking about how it's gonna be released, essentially. And I have podcasts that's dropping, and we're editing. The book I'm finishing up. I think I'm really excited for this phase of my career because I feel like I'm in an amazing place creatively. I'm excited as I've ever been, and I'm grateful. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm really excited about this year, and I can't wait to share new stuff with people. I think
Love that.
I think they're
You
gonna
got some
love
heat
it.
rocks in the clip, boy. Y'all get ready.
Love that. Well, Trip,
Great.
once again, thanks for spending your time with us. To our listeners, thank you for spending your time with us. If you missed the drop, my name is Marcus Hollinger. I'm joined by my homeboy,
Ace Harris.
and this is the 116 Life on Holy Culture Radio, SiriusXM channel 154. We'll see you back here next Tuesday, 8 Eastern. God bless you.